I'm going to be spending the next 48 hours in the middle of the wilderness, trying to survive with nothing but the clothes on my back and what may possibly be the greatest survival tool known to man, a watermelon.
Okay, well actually 3 personal melons. Look, it's hard to find watermelon in March, okay? And it's supposed to get down to 24 degrees tonight. So if I'm going to have any chance of making it through the night, I've got to get started on my shelter as soon as possible.
Armed with the finest survival training that YouTube has to offer, I set out in search of the perfect location for my shelter. Where I choose to stop will determine the fate of this entire trip, the difference between life and death. So it is crucial that I consider all of my options before...
Looks like this is it. The perfect spot.
So there I was, an artist staring at a blank canvas, ready to build a debris shelter so thick it'd put Jif to shame. This fallen tree would soon be the backbone for my entire shelter. But first, I figured it was about time to crack open my first melon. Thanks to my strategic placement of camp, I was right next to a valley full of rocks, the main material used in rock knives. After weeding out some particularly soft rocks, I emerged successful and began crafting my melon mug. A tedious endeavor that left my stomach satisfied with the fruit of my labor, but left my hands feeling like a placemat at an all-you-can-eat pancake buffet.
Well, let's never do that again.
After collecting some eating utensils for next time, I began working on a water extraction system.
Look at this huge monster of a grapevine. So basically the water flows from this cut all the way down into my melon mug, and it's safe to drink straight from the vine. At least I'm pretty sure.
Now it was finally time to start work on my shelter, which honestly just meant hours of yard work, separated by brief moments of actual construction, beginning with a twig box spring, followed by a 6-inch mattress made from the world's finest compressed leaves, and then things really started to take shape. It was cozy, to say the least. After completing the second wall, I figured it was about time for a melon break.
Well, that's a decent amount of water for only a couple hours. Probably got about 4 hours of daylight left right now, and I still need to cover my shelter in leaves. The goal was 3 feet thick, but we'll see about that.
The trouble was that my shelter had a fatal flaw, and I'd realized it all too late. This fallen tree may have provided a fast and sturdy ridgepole, but it severely limited access to the entire left side of my shelter, effectively cutting my usable leaf area in half. And to make matters worse, this forest floor was a lot thinner than I'd originally thought. But none of that mattered now. This shelter was my only hope of making it through a 24-degree night. As the sun began to set, I placed my finishing touches on the shelter. I'd managed to create some resemblance of an igloo door, and build the walls to at least a foot thick on all sides. My shelter was as ready as it was going to be, but I wasn't sure if I was. A long and cold night stood before me. I tried to distract myself with one last melon meal for the day.
Well, that was one of the worst nights of sleep I've ever had. I probably managed to get about 6 hours in, but I'd wake up every 2 hours freezing cold and needing to pee. Probably wasn't the best idea to eat all that watermelon right before bed. I'm currently just, looking for some wood to make a door out of.
I was maybe a bit too ambitious with the small size of my igloo door, so I had to scrap it last minute. But as it turns out, watermelon and a pile of leaves just don't make a very good door, so maybe some wood planks could help me better seal the entrance. Now, considering how cold it got last night, I should probably start raking leaves right away so that I can give myself the best chance of
So right now, I'm just carving this stick into a spindle.
Against my better judgment, I began collecting materials for a bow drill kit to try my hand at a friction fire. With the current dry conditions and the fact that my shelter was a literal bonfire waiting to happen, there was no way that I could actually use a fire to stay warm at night. But it was more fun than raking leaves.
Alright, let's see what's on the menu for today. I think I'll have watermelon and a side of frozen grapevine water. A true delicacy in these parts.
After some more fiddling around with my bow drill parts, it was finally time for my favorite part of the day, leaves. And boy, did I have a lot of leaves. Coat, gloves, sweatshirt, boots, all filled with, you guessed it, leaves. And this was all just from one night of sleeping. Now with everything cleaned up, I decided to fashion my sweatshirt into a bag for, well, you know. Everything was going well until I ran into a deadly foe. Despite his best efforts to tunnel his way into my shelter, I managed to make this foul beast think twice before messing with me. After grinding out a few more hours of leaf collection, my shelter was looking, well, like a pile of leaves. Still not nearly as thick as it should be for the below freezing temps expected tonight, but considering how rough it was looking this morning, this was a major upgrade, and with any luck, I'd sleep much better tonight. And now, for the moment you've all been waiting for. Can I create fire with nothing but completely natural resources? Well, except for the string from my boot. Really hope that doesn't break. With great anticipation, I began to prepare my bow drill. All of the hours of work spent making this thing, and it could all come undone in just another moment. To my great surprise, as expected, the kit started working together almost effortlessly. Soon enough, I'd burned in my hole. Now for the hard part, carving a notch with rock knives of questionable quality. So after an hour of carving, my notch was looking honestly not the best. But then, like magic, everything just started to work. Unfortunately, it was all downhill from there. My handhold was burning down the top of my spindle, and before you knew it, the whole thing just sounded like a dying cat. Fortunately for the other residents of the forest, I ran out of time for the day.
Maybe someday I'll get to experience the joy of a...
Come on, almost there.
You've got to be kidding me.
But wait, was it still smoking? Was it just the wood? No, I had a coal. As the sweet realization of my dream drew closer, I sat there, eagerly waiting for the heat to build up. At long last, the day had finally come, and it was just as glorious as I had imagined. And it only took me an extra 3 hours and 43 minutes after the...
Maybe I'll try again in the morning. Right now, I just need to start getting everything ready for the night.
At this point in the trip, I was feeling very low in energy. In theory, my 22 pounds of melon should have given me about 2,700 calories. But in reality, I couldn't even finish my second melon today. But at least I was well hydrated. These were the thoughts running through my head as I prepared to crawl into my burrow for the second night. The forest came alive with sounds throughout my sleepless stretches of the night. I somehow managed to sleep even worse than the first night, despite a balmy low of 30 degrees and a greatly improved shelter. Maybe leaf beds just weren't for me. While my shelter never fully achieved the warmth and comfort that I had envisioned, I did manage to exceed all expectations when it came to strength. And now, like a sandcastle artist at the end of a long day, it was time to destroy my work of art, using up some of my precious energy that I could have saved for my hike out of here. But I wanted to return things to the way I had found them, as best I could. And I was pretty confident that I'd be able to walk back just fine. I was really regretting not eating that third watermelon right about now. This wasn't going to be easy. My energy levels were the lowest they'd been all trip, and the added weight of my camera equipment and melon was taking a toll on me. The thought of Swiss rolls and peanut butter chocolate chip granola bars kept me going. The fallen trees that littered this trail threatened to break the delicate pace that I'd worked so hard to build up, but the thought of real food and water turned out to be a very powerful motivator. And before I knew it, it happened. I survived 48 hours and 52 minutes using only watermelon. Comment down below what item I should try to survive with next, and I'll see you in the next adventure.
I think it's frozen.